Incredible rescue. Discover how 7 brave hearts saved a cat family from a hidden bee attack. The sun shone brightly over Springfield, Ohio, as lunchtime began to fade at Sarah's family diner. But this day would be like no other. Just behind the diner, a discarded box lay crumpled and abandoned. As Sarah wiped her hands on her apron, she heard tiny mews cutting through the din of everyday life. Curiosity getting the better of her, she peeked inside and was met with wide, pleading eyes and trembling bodies, a family of abandoned kittens. Her heart ached as she scooped them into her arms. Their mewing reverberated deep within her, awakening a warmth she desperately needed. She could face down anything in her life: years of service in the military, raising her daughter alone, but this was a call to her humanity. In the midst of caring for the kittens, Sarah noticed her grumpy neighbor, Mr. Johnson, observing her from his porch. The neighbor had often whispered about the elderly widower, dismissing him as a hermit. Hidden beneath his weathered exterior, however, was an unspoken depth and compassion that would soon surprise them all. As wails from the small creatures echoed in the air, Sarah felt a connection growing, not just with the kittens but with the world around her. Meanwhile, the aroma of burgers and coffee wafted through the diner, but today, something special was happening. The annual community fair was just around the corner, and anticipation crackled in the air. But then, from the corner of her eye, Sarah saw a swirling mass of bees. Panic erupted like a spark igniting dry grass. The townsfolk hesitated: should they save the kittens or protect themselves? Voices grew louder, and tension tightened the air. Jacob, a spirited local boy, saw the kittens in peril and gathered his friends, declaring war on fear and hesitation. They were just kids, but in their hearts bloomed bravery. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the children ran towards the bees, Sarah's throat tightened with worry. Adults looked on, shaking their heads, berating the kids for their foolishness. But in that moment, one could see hope shining in Jacob's determined eyes, as if each child carried a piece of the community's spirit within them. Then, from the shadows emerged Mr. Johnson, not as a bitter old man but as a beacon of knowledge. "I used to be a beekeeper," he exclaimed, rushing forward. His voice was steady and calm amidst the chaos. He shared his wisdom about the gentle giants of nature and how to soothe them. Sarah felt a swell of gratitude. There they stood, old and young, bonded by a shared purpose. As Mr. Johnson directed the kids in a daring mission to save the kittens, something profoundly shifted in the air. Hope flickered like a fragile flame fighting against the gathering storm of buzzing bees. Would they succeed? Would the community unite to save both the kittens and themselves? The clock was ticking, and danger loomed ever closer, a buzz piercing the silence, the fate of the kittens hanging in the balance. Jacob's heart raced as he gathered his friends. They formed a line, standing shoulder to shoulder, united by their shared purpose. The bees hummed ominously, a swirling cloud swirling above them, casting shadows on the ground. They knew the stakes: the kittens were in danger, and the adults were too afraid to act. "On my count," Jacob said, trying to inject confidence into his voice. 1, 2, 3. With a burst of energy, the children charged forward. Mr. Johnson had instructed them to stay low, to move quietly and avoid sudden movements. As they ducked and crawled, the buzz of wings filled their ears. Jacob's heart pounded, but he felt an exhilaration rush through him. This was more than just a mission to save kittens, it was about courage, the kind of courage that united a community. Just a few feet away, Sarah watched, her breath catching as the children sprinted past the diner. She felt a spark of hope ignite again in her chest. The adults had their doubts, but those kids were fighting for something pure. "Mr. Johnson," she called out, "what can we do to help?" He turned, his eyes glinting with exhilaration. "We need to distract them, draw their attention away from the box." Sarah nodded, instincts kicking in. Let us make some noise, something like a marching band. Nearby, an old metal drum sat against the diner, remnants of a summer festival long past. Quickly, she dashed over and began banging on it. The sound echoed, crisp and metallic, bouncing off the walls of the diner and reaching the encroaching swarm. The children turned, momentarily pausing in their mission. They watched Sarah rallying her energy, urging them onward with urgency. The boys grabbed anything they could find: wooden sticks, empty containers, and old soda bottles, and began clanging them together, creating a cacophony of sound that mixed with the drum. The buzzing of bees turned into a confused hum, as the swarm shifted its attention towards the noise. "Keep going," Sarah shouted, her heart racing as the kittens in the box mewed for help. "You're doing great. Just a little closer." With renewed vigor, the kids shuffled sideways, inching closer to the box, hearts thumping in synchrony. The bees followed the sound, leaving a clear path for Jacob and his friends. "Almost there," Jacob yelled, reaching out towards the box. He could see the tiny faces of the kittens peering out, their fur matted and eyes wide with fear. They needed comfort as much as they needed rescue, but just as Jacob stretched out his hand, a loud buzzing surged, swelling in volume, almost like an angry storm. The children froze, and fear flickered across their faces. "What do we do?" one of the girls cried out, her eyes glistening with tears. Jacob looked back at his friends, eyes filled with determination. "Keep going. We can't stop now." For the kittens, it was that collective spirit, that shared courage that pushed them forward. Each second seemed to stretch in both directions like time held its breath in anticipation. Just when they thought the bees would overwhelm, Mr. Johnson waved his hands and shouted reassuringly. "Remember, they're not out to hurt you. Just breathe. It's okay." With Mr. Johnson's calming mantra echoing in their minds, the friends surged forward, and Jacob's fingers brushed against the box. Would they really be able to save them? As the last ounce of hope hung in the air, a figure emerged from the crowd of adults staring in disbelief. Someone had joined the fight, but who? In that moment, the children turned to see what was happening, holding their breath, anticipation surging as the solution approached. A tall figure stepped forward, his silhouette sharp against the flickering sunlight. It was Mr. Thompson, the local beekeeper. His sturdy frame and gentle demeanor disarmed the children's fear almost instantly. He held a smoke canister in one hand, the familiar puff of white smoke curling into the air like a signal of hope. "Hold on," Mr. Thompson called out, his voice steady and commanding. "I know how to handle this." The children glanced at each other, confusion etched on their faces. But will it work? Will it scare them away? Jacob dared to ask, desperation creeping into his tone. "Yes." Mr. Thompson nodded. "Bees react to smoke by thinking their hive is on fire. They'll start to fill up on honey, which makes them more docile. Just trust me." As Mr. Thompson lit the canister, a cloud of smoke billowed outward, gently rolling towards the swarm. It mingled with the chaotic energy of the bees, who began to retreat slightly, their angry buzzing becoming more subdued. The children watched, hearts pounding in excitement and fear. "Now's your chance," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the air, full of encouragement. The kids quickly directed their focus back to the box, where the kitten's small mews seemed to grow louder, a desperate hymn calling them to action. Jacob took a deep breath, bolstered by Mr. Thompson's calmness and Sarah's unwavering support. "On three again, guys. 1, 2, 3. This time, with a quick determination, they pushed forward together, shuffling closer to the box that held the trembling kittens. As they neared the container, Jacob reached out. He could see the tiny faces peering through the gaps, their fragile bodies pulsing with anxiety. A wave of compassion washed over him. "We're almost there, little ones," he promised softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, Jacob noticed a bee veering dangerously close. He froze, the thrill of the moment quaking beneath a blanket of dread. But Mr. Thompson remained vigilant, shooing the creature away effortlessly with another puff of smoke. "Hurry!" he urged, expertly managing the swarm. "You're doing great." Finally, Jacob's fingers brushed the cold metal of the box. With a swift motion, he unlatched it, lifting the lid. The sight of the kittens, their fur tousled and eyes wide with fear, ignited a fire within him. "I've got you," he murmured as he scooped the first kitten into his arms. His friends followed suit, hands trembling but filled with purpose. They cradled the little creatures, feeling the warmth of life spark through their palms, but just as they were about to turn back, a loud droning surged through the air again. The bees, stirred by the noises and commotion, rallied back, swarming the children with renewed vigor. "Get back!" Mr. Thompson shouted, waving his arms. "Stay close to me." The kids huddled together, kittens snuggled tight as they all glanced at the looming cloud of bees. This was far from over. "Look!" A voice cried out among them, pointing to the diner where the older kids had just spotted something glinting in the sunlight. It wasn't just any item, it was a box of the local honey jars. "We can distract them with that." Jacob's mind raced. They had to act fast, every heartbeat surged with urgency. "Who is coming with me?" he asked, eyes alight with fierce determination. The path was fraught with danger, but hope hung thick in the air. Would they take the risk to strengthen their chance of saving the day once and for all? Jacob stepped forward, heart racing. The idea of using the honey jars felt risky, but the thought of leaving the kittens behind was unbearable. "All right, let us do this," he shouted, trying to rally his friends. "Wait." Sarah grabbed his arm. "What if we get stung? We can't just run out there." "Then we'll be quick. Just grab the jar and come right back," he reassured her. He felt the urgency of the moment weighing down on him, but the fear in her eyes tugged at his heart. "Okay," she replied, exhaling hesitantly. One by one, the others nodded in agreement. They were a team, and they had to stick together. "Remember, stick close to me." "It's all about timing," Mr. Thompson instructed, adjusting the smoke canister in his hand, ready to combat the angry bees once more. The children formed a line behind Mr. Thompson as they carefully stepped out of the safety of the bushes. The buzzing intensified around them, a threatening hum that sent adrenaline coursing through their veins. "Follow my lead," Mr. Thompson directed. He took a big step toward the diner, releasing a puff of smoke to create a barrier between them and the swarm. The children hurried after him, eyes darting to the bees circling overhead. Jacob's eyes locked onto the sparkling jars of honey. It was a sight he had never appreciated until now. They might be the key to distraction, the means to turn the tide in their favor. "There." He pointed, signaling the others to keep moving. "Don't stop. Keep going," Sarah urged, tightening her grip around the kittens. They pressed onward, heartbeats syncing with the chaos buzzing around them. As they reached the diner, Jacob rushed toward the box. He pulled it open with shaking hands, fingertips grazing the cool glass of the honey jars. The golden liquid shimmered in the sunlight, sweet and inviting. Quickly, he grabbed one, cradling it like a precious treasure. Just then, a loud buzz filled the air as the bees surged, angry and agitated. Jacob's heart skipped a beat as he spun around. "Hurry!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the panic. "Mr. Thompson! We need smoke!" Sarah cried out, backing away as the swarm got closer. Mr. Thompson reacted almost instinctively. He released another cloud of smoke, wrapping them in a protective cocoon. "This will buy us time. Just move." With the jar clutched against his chest, Jacob sprinted back toward the group. But the moment felt endless, the buzzing growing louder with each step. He glanced at his friends, the fear mirrored in their wide eyes. They were all in this together. Just as they neared the bushes, the swarm broke away slightly, drawn in by the sweet scent of honey seeping from the jar. "Now!" Mr. Thompson shouted, pointing to an opening on the other side of the swarm. "That's your path." With a collective breath, the kids bolted toward the bushes, running as fast as their legs could carry them. Jacob's mind raced even faster as he glanced back to see the bees swirling around the honey jar, their angry buzzing now focused elsewhere. They dove behind the shelter of the shrubbery, hearts thudding in their chests. They had done it. For a moment, they relished their victory, the adrenaline still coursing through them. "Let us get those kittens to safety," Jacob exclaimed, feeling a swell of pride and relief. But as they caught their breath, a commotion from the pack of bees drew their attention. They kept circling, clearly agitated and now searching for the source of their distraction. "Are they still coming?" A voice quivered beside Jacob, eyes wide with fear. Before he could respond, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They weren't just rescuing kittens anymore, they were confronting their fears together. But as the buzzing grew closer again, Jacob's resolve hardened. "Come on. We have to protect the kittens, we can't give up now," he urged, leading the way forward. But just as they prepared to make their next move, a realization struck Jacob like lightning. What if using the honey wasn't just a distraction? What if it angered the bees even more? As they crept back, ready for the next challenge, a soft meow broke free from the kittens, a sound that held the promise of hope but also an unexpected twist. "What now?" Jacob wondered, voice low, sensing that this was only the beginning of the true test they faced ahead. The kittens squirmed in Sarah's arms, their tiny faces filled with fear. "We have to find a way to calm them down," she whispered, glancing at Jacob, her expression a mixture of anxiety and determination. "Let us make a plan," Jacob urged, pulling the group close, despite the buzzing threat lurking just beyond the bushes. Everyone's heart raced. This was the moment that would test their bravery. "Maybe we can create a diversion again," Alex suggested, his eyes darting nervously around. "But what if the smoke doesn't work this time? We need to think. What else can we use?" Mr. Thompson's voice was firm but calm, aiming to keep the group focused. "Other food," Jacob blurted out, suddenly inspired. "What if we use other snacks from the diner to lure them away? Anything to distract them from the honey?" "Great idea," Sarah exclaimed, glancing back at the diner. "There are leftover fries and sugary pastries inside." "But it's risky," Alex protested, his voice trembling. "What if we get stung again?" "Every second counts," Jacob urged. "We can't just sit here. The kittens need us." Mr. Thompson nodded, reinforcing Jacob's encouragement. "Okay, we split into 2 teams. One group can gather the snacks, and the other will keep an eye on the bees." "I'll go for snacks," Jacob volunteered, throwing a glance at Sarah and Alex. "Who else?" "I'll come with you," Sarah instantly replied. "I'm not letting you do this alone." "Fine. But let us be quick," Alex agreed, though a flicker of fear passed over his face. The kids quickly divided their roles, Sarah and Jacob heading towards the diner while Alex, Mr. Thompson, and the others stayed by the bushes. The duo moved swiftly, hearts pounding, desperate to keep their captured feline friends safe. As they reached the door of the diner, a harsh buzzing filled the air around them. "Jacob, hurry!" Sarah whispered urgently, her eyes wide with fear. He nodded, shoving the door open. The smell of grease and sugar hit them like a wave, the diner's atmosphere a stark contrast to the danger waiting outside. "Fry container, where's the fry container?" Jacob muttered under his breath, scanning the empty tables. He spotted it near the kitchen door. "There. Grab it." They rushed over, and just as Jacob reached for the container, the door swung open, and a waitress emerged, gasping. "What are you kids doing in here? It's not safe. Please. We need fries to distract some bees." Jacob explained, his voice rising with urgency. The waitress, eyes widening at the mention of bees, quickly assessed the situation. Okay, just take them and be careful." She handed over the container, her eyebrows knitted in concern. "Thank you," Sarah cried out, turning back towards the exit. The buzzing sound outside grew louder, and they felt the tension rise again. As they stepped outside, the scene had changed. The bee swarm was thicker, swirling around the area with a furious energy. Jacob's heart dropped as he saw his friends standing anxiously, their faces etched with worry. "Did you get it?" Alex shouted, pointing toward the fry container. Yes. But Sarah hesitated, her eyes flicking to the bees. They're getting aggressive. Let us hurry and toss the fries. Jacob shouted, desperate to control the chaos. With adrenaline pushing them, they tossed fries into the luring pathway away from the bushes. The bees swarmed toward the food, their vicious buzzing temporarily distracted. Now's our chance. Jacob yelled, racing back to the safety of the shrubbery. The others followed closely, each heart beating with the rhythm of life and panic. But just as they settled into the bushes, catching their breath and preparing to check on the kittens, a low growl emanated from somewhere deep in the underbrush. Jacob's stomach twisted as he turned to see what was that. He asked, eyes wide and breath caught in his throat. The moment held a heavy pause, and the fear pressed down on him once again. Did you hear that? Sarah asked, voice trembling. In the silence that followed, Jacob realized that the real challenge might not end with the bees after all. Jacob's heart pounded in his chest. That growl echoed in his ears, deeper and more ominous than anything he'd faced today. His instincts screamed danger, and his thoughts raced. What feral creature lay hidden in those bushes? Maybe it's just the wind, Alex muttered, but his shaky voice betrayed his doubt. They all felt the tension like a tight wire, ready to snap. Only if the wind growls, Sarah whispered back, her eyes darting around in search of a way out. Jacob stepped cautiously forward, risking a glance at their surroundings. Bright sunlight spilled onto the grass, but the shadows in the bushes loomed as if they were alive. We need to be brave. It could be a fox or even a raccoon. It won't hurt us if we don't provoke it. He willed himself to sound confident, but inside, panic bubbled. Hadn't they already dealt with enough chaos today? The kittens still clung to Sarah, their tiny bodies shivering. Without warning, another growl rumbled from the underbrush, more pronounced this time. The sound sent a shiver down Jacob's spine. There's definitely something there, he said, voice low and steady, trying to keep it together. Guys, what do we do? Alex's voice was now laced with fear, glancing over at Mr. Thompson, who was trying to assess the situation. Let us move back a little, Mr. Thompson suggested, inching backward while keeping his eyes fixed on the noise. Keep the kittens close. If it comes out, we'll need to protect them. Just then, something shifted in the leaves, and a figure stumbled out. It was not a wild creature, but a scraggly dog, a lost golden retriever, looking worse for wear and trembling with uncertainty. The kids let out a collective exhale of relief. Hey there, buddy, Jacob said softly, crouching down. Are you okay? The dog's tail wagged hesitantly, ears drooping. It looks scared, Sarah observed, her fear morphing into compassion. She glanced at the kittens cradled in her arms. What if he has been abandoned? Or lost, Alex added, knelt beside Jacob. Poor thing must be hungry. Suddenly, the thought of the leftover fries struck him again. What if we feed him? If we can help him, maybe we can find his owner later. Jacob smiled at Alex's suggestion. Great idea. I've got some in the container. He opened it slowly, careful not to frighten the dog further. As the aroma wafted through the air, the golden retriever perked up, inching closer with cautious curiosity. Come on, buddy, Jacob said, tossing a few fries onto the ground. The dog hesitated for a moment before diving for the food, munching gratefully. They could all see it relaxing, its tail thumping against the ground as hunger overtook its fear. See? Sarah smiled, the earlier tension easing. He is friendly. But just as they found hope in the rescue of the dog, the buzzing sound returned, more aggressive than before. The bees, still focused on the distraction, were now turning back towards the kids. Jacob's heart dropped as panic surged again. Let us get back. Mr. Thompson shouted, urgency in his voice. They scrambled backward, pulling the dog with them. But what about the kittens? Sarah cried out, gripping the little creatures still nestled against her chest. We can't stay here. Jacob shouted, glancing desperately at the swarm approaching. All at once, the dog jolted upright. Sensing the anxiety, it barked fiercely, startling the bees momentarily. It's protecting us. Alex's eyes lit up with astonishment. Maybe it can help. Jacob realized. If we can all work together, we might stand a chance. With the fierce Pooch barking at their side, the kids took a deep breath, ready to stand against the chaos once more. But would the strange dog's bravery be enough to shield them from the threat? In that moment, they knew they were in for the fight of their lives. Would courage alone be enough to save them? As the buzzing intensified, the thick air felt electric, crackling with an urgency that left Jacob's heart racing. He glanced at Mr. Thompson, whose face was tense with determination. Everyone, stay close together. We can't let the bees separate us. Together they huddled as the golden retriever stood guard, its bark piercing the air like a hammer on steel. The sound sent the bees reeling for a second, but Jacob knew it wouldn't last long. Okay, hear us the plan, Jacob spoke quickly, adrenaline fueling his words. If the dog can fend them off for a moment, we need to get to the trees. They're that way. He pointed toward a stand of sturdy oak trees not far off. We can find cover there. Hurry. With a nod from Mr. Thompson, the group sprang into action, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The dog spun around, barking wildly, keeping the swarm at bay as they sprinted. Sarah held the kittens tightly to her chest, whispering soothingly to them. You're safe, little ones, we're almost out of here. Just as they reached the trees, Jacob felt a sharp sting on his arm. He yelped, stumbling slightly. Jacob! Alex cried, turning back, panic flashing in his eyes. I'm okay. Just got stung, Jacob said through gritted teeth, the pain sharp but manageable. He ignited a spark of determination within himself. We can't stop. Keep moving. They scrambled behind the grand old oaks, their branches intertwining overhead like a protective roof. The buzzing faded slightly, but the children's breaths came quick and ragged, their pulse matching the frantic rhythm of the moment. Is it safe here? Sarah asked, looking up to Mr. Thompson, her face pale but resolute. For now, yes. Let us just give it a minute, he replied, scanning the surrounding area, wary of the swarm returned as they caught their breath. The golden retriever pressed close, its expressive eyes reflecting gratitude. You saved us, buddy, Jacob murmured, reaching out to pet the dog gently. Maybe you're not just a lost dog after all. The moment hung in the air, a fragile hope taking shape. But then, the ominous growl of an approaching swarm filled the void, making them tense up once more. Move to the other side of the tree. Mr. Thompson commanded, leading them around the trunk for better cover. Stay low. Just then, the little golden pup whimpered, moving closer to Sarah. He's scared too, she said softly, eyes glistening. We can't leave him. No, we won't, Jacob replied, steeling himself. We need him. If we can help protect him and he can help us, we'll make it. The children nodded and determinedly rallied around the frightened dog. The kinship of their collective fear anchored them, and together they huddled close, nurturing a quiet strength. Just then, the rustle of leaves caught their attention. Emerging from the underbrush was another dog, this one not scraggly but robust, with a protective stance, an unmistakable presence. The group held their breath as the new dog approached, stopping just shy of Jacob and his friends. Is that? Alex faltered, hope flickering in his eyes, but before he could finish the question, the bees started to swarm again, furious and relentless, taking aim at both the children and this new arrival. They had to move quickly. Stand together, hold on tight. Jacob shouted, as the two dogs stood at attention, ready to protect their newfound friends. Could the arrival of this new dog change their fate? The shadows pressed in, thick with uncertainty, as a new chapter loomed on the edge of their bravery. Would they manage to find safety together? The air was thick with tension as Jacob's heart raced anew. The buzzing had returned, its roar growing louder, and instinct kicked in deeper. He glanced at Mr. Thompson, who was visibly steeling himself for whatever was about to happen. Do you think the new dog now's not the time for questions? Mr. Thompson interrupted, his voice commanding. We need to move. Suddenly, the dog sprang into action. The golden retriever led the way, barking fiercely, while the robust dog mirrored its bravery, instinctively knowing that they had taken on a crucial responsibility. The group squeezed closer together, a shield formed against the invisible threat that pressed in from all sides. "Which way?" Sarah yelled, her voice edged with fear. Jacob pointed toward a gap in the trees. "Over there. We'll go around." They bolted, careful to keep the fragile kittens secure. Jacob felt the new dog's fur brush against his leg, the solidity of its movement offering a sense of safety. With each determined stride, hope flickered as brightly as the sun breaking through the clouds. "Run!" Mr. Thompson shouted, his words igniting urgency. Just as they dashed forward, the furious swarm zeroed in, the bees angry and relentless. Jacob could hear the ominous hum deep in his chest, a reminder of the danger closing in. "They're getting closer!" Alex shouted, glancing back, his eyes wide with fear. "Don't look back. Focus on getting to safety," Jacob urged, pumping his legs faster, pushing through the pain of the sting in his arm. They reached a craggy outcrop, a blend of rocks and overgrown bushes that seemed to beckon for them. "Over here!" Jacob shouted again. They dove behind the natural shelter, panting heavily, barely catching their breath. Maybe they won't find us here," Sarah gasped, her voice trembling, the kittens nestled safely in her arms. "Just stay low," Mr. Thompson advised, crouched beside them. "We'll wait for them to pass." The moment of stillness felt surreal. The children huddled in tight, a mix of fear and adrenaline coursing through them. The two dogs sat close, their shared presence a comforting weight against the fear. But then the buzzing crescendoed once more, sending panic through Jacob's veins. "We need to keep moving," he insisted, feeling an urgency that went beyond the moment. "If we don't get out of here, we're just sitting ducks. We have to find a safer place." As if sensing their thoughts, the golden retriever stood, its posture shifting from exhaustion to alertness. The robust dog followed suit, its eyes scanning the surroundings. "Okay, here is the plan," Jacob whispered, conscious of the swarm vibrating painfully close. "We create a diversion." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, confusion breaking through her fear. "Someone has to draw them away. The dogs can lead us. If we can create a distraction." His voice trailed off. "I'll do it," Alex blurted, determination shining through his fear. "No," Jacob replied quickly, stepping forward. "It's too dangerous. We'll work together. We need everyone to stay close." They exchanged glances, each child grappling with the growing sense of responsibility. This was bigger than any game they had ever played. This was about survival. "Ready?" Mr. Thompson asked, his voice steadying them. "On my count 1, 2." The buzz of the bees became an echo of what was at stake. Jacob could feel his heart pounding, a sense of unity filling him. They would face this together. "Go!" shouted Mr. Thompson, and the children erupted from their hiding place, racing towards safety like a pulse in sync with the determined beat of the two dogs. Yet, in this frantic scramble, would they find the safety they sought, or would the swarm overwhelm them in this desperate moment? The world outside their rocky refuge was chaos. Jacob's heart hammered against his ribs as they sprinted over the uneven ground. The buzzing grew louder, a menacing orchestra thrumming through the air, and with every step, he felt the burden of fear pressing down, threatening to crush their resolve. "We need to keep moving in a straight line," Jacob shouted, glancing at Mr. Thompson, who was leading the pack with a fierce determination. The two dogs, golden retriever on one side and robust dog on the other, acted as their guides, darting ahead with unwavering resolve. The trees whipped by them as they climbed, frantically pushing through brush and branches. Sarah tripped on a root, her ankle twisting painfully. "I can't," she cried, her pain a sharp contrast to the urgency of their situation. "Just a little further." "We're almost there," Jacob urged, reaching down and grabbing her hand. He pulled her up and they kept moving, a tight unity holding them together. Alex glanced back, squinting through the dappled sunlight. The swarming bees began to break through the foliage, their dark mass a terrifying blot against the green landscape. "They're right behind us." He yelled, panic edging his voice. They pressed on, adrenaline mixing with fear as they charged toward a clearing up ahead. The scent of wildflowers filled the air, a stark reminder that beauty still existed even in chaos. Jacob's thoughts raced. Could they really outpace this terror? As they burst into the clearing, the group skidded to a stop. The vast expanse felt surreal, illuminated by sunshine and sprinkled with color. For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. But there was no comfort to be found here, not now. The buzzing was getting louder, an angry drone that threatened to swallow the light. There. Mr. Thompson pointed to a thick grove of trees on the opposite side. We can hide until they calm down. Jacob nodded, and they all took off again, their fear giving them wings. The dogs sniffed the air, eager to guide them to safety. Jacob felt the heat of Sarah's grip on his arm, the urgency palpable. As they crossed the open space just as they reached the trees, a dark shadow swept above them. The swarm was closing in, swarming like a dark cloud, inches away from them. Jacob scrambled behind a thick trunk, his back pressed against the cool bark. He glanced over at the others, Alex, eyes wide in terror, Sarah, fighting back tears, and Mr. Thompson, his jaw set with determination, gulping down his anxiety. Jacob could feel his pulse in his throat. This way. He whispered, motioning for them to follow him deeper into the grove. The foliage wrapped around them, providing some semblance of cover, but the buzz continued to pulse in their ears, reminding them that they weren't safe yet. Jacob, we can't hide here forever. Sarah pleaded, her voice trembling. We need a real plan. We will, he promised, though his own heart wasn't convinced. He looked at the dogs, their ears perked, ready as if they could somehow sniff out a solution. Suddenly, a thought struck him. What if the new dog can lure them away? They're drawn to movement. What do you mean? Alex asked, bewildered. If we can send them in the opposite direction, we might just have a chance. Jacob's eyes lit up, the flicker of hope igniting the fear for a moment. Are you crazy? Sarah exclaimed, tugging at his arm. They'll sting you. I know, but it's our best shot. The determination in Jacob's voice steadied them. Could he really do it? Was it the right choice? The heavy tension swirled around them, and Jacob felt the weight of their expectation. He knew this was not just about courage, it was about trusting his instincts. We can't wait much longer. They're going to find us, Alex whispered, glancing again at the encroaching swarm. On three, Mr. Thompson said, his voice a rallying cry. We'll go together, and if we do this right, we might just save ourselves and the kittens. Jacob took a breath, inhaling the sweet but dangerous air. 1, 2, 3. And with that, they stepped out of the shadows, hoping against hope that their plan would save them all. In that heartbeat of action, each child felt the gravity of choice, teetering on the brink of bravery. Would the plan work, or had they just crossed the point of no return? In that charged moment, they surged forward, side by side, hearts racing as they darted toward the open field. The air was thick with a buzzing urgency that circled around them like a storm. Jacob's voice rose with conviction over there. He pointed towards a distant tree, its movement hinting at the plan taking shape. The solid golden retriever and the strong but kind new dog stood in the mix, ready to lead. Follow! Mr. Thompson shouted, his voice slicing through the electric tension. The dogs took off, their instincts kicking in as they bounded toward the buzzing swarm. Jacob, Sarah, and Alex raced behind, adrenaline fueling every desperate step. In those heart-pounding moments, they became a part of something greater, united by their mission and the desperate hope of saving both the kittens and the newfound dogs they had encountered. The bees darkened the sky as they honed in on the movement, drawn away from the frantic bunch of kids huddled behind the trees. Jacob glanced back, his heartbeat drumming in sync with the swarm, barely believing they were executing this bold plan. Keep moving! He shouted, urgency ringing in his tone. The others pressed on, hearts alight with fear and bravery. Suddenly, they spotted the old diner in the distance once more. The sweet scent of food wafted through the air, creating a delicious distraction for both humans and bees alike. They veered left, hoping to draw the swarm away from the sweet little kitten still nestled close against Sarah's chest. "Almost there," Jacob shouted, encouraging them onward. As they crossed the threshold of the diner's garden, Sarah felt the pressure of the kittens through her arms, their little bodies trembling against her. She murmured softly, "You're safe, we're almost home." Holding on to their comforting warmth pushed her to keep going. Just ahead, a turn in the fence caught Jacob's eye. "This way." He steered them toward a narrow gap, squeezing through. They emerged breathless in the backyard area, and lo and behold, the comforting sight of familiar faces from the community fair greeted them. Adults, having sensed the danger, had gathered when they noticed the swarm closing in. "Sarah!" "Jacob!" called Mr. Johnson, his voice now tinged with concern yet holding admiration. "You've brought the bee army." With a grin, Jacob felt the rush of victory colliding with the tension still coursing through him. "We need your help." The adults, realizing the battle wasn't over, rallied with newfound determination. They began to gather whatever they could find: bags of herbs, clanging pots, arming themselves to fight the threat with unity and strength. "The animals need protection," Mr. Thompson instructed, steadying them with wisdom born from experience. "Bring the boxes and crates for cover." Before Jacob could process his surroundings, the robust dog and the golden retriever sprang alongside the adults, barking fiercely, keeping the bees at bay. "Now," Mr. Johnson shouted, dragging a stack of straw towards the entrance, "it's all about teamwork." Together, they crafted fortifications of laughter and sound, a mix of actions igniting hope within their hearts. As the buzzing grew louder, they filled the air with noise, drums, rattle cans, and children's laughter mingled with barks echoing together in harmony, formidable against a threat that had once seemed insurmountable. "On the count of 3, everyone!" Mr. Thompson called out. 1, 2, 3. They struck their makeshift drums, creating a cacophony that shook the air. The bees, confused by the riotous melange, began to break apart, their anger dwindling as they blurred around in uncertainty. Within the flurry, Jacob, Sarah, and Alex took a breath. This was their moment, for not just the kittens, but for their new four-legged friends and for each other. With joyful shouts, they broke through only to see the kittens, now in comfortable arms, warmed by hearts full of adventure. "We did it!" Jacob couldn't contain the rush of exhilaration as his joyful tears sparkled in the sunlight. Their community had come together, laughter mingling with vibrant joy. Sarah smiled wide, feeling truly appreciated by those around her. Mr. Johnson stood with pride that day, not just as a recluse, but as a pillar of strength forged from love. As twilight settled in, families gathered, uniting in a shared spirit that flowed like honey. Cheers erupted, filling the air with happiness, the chorus of newfound friendships weaving a comforting embrace. From that fateful day forward, Springfield bloomed with stories of bravery, proving that when united, a community could summon incredible strength to conquer their fears, even the buzzing ones. Now, don't miss out on this journey. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately for more exclusive stories that inspire and uplift hearts. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and boost our community of positivity. Comment your feelings about this incredible ending, we want to know how it touched your heart. And please, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. It's time to spread the love and support. Don't wait not even one more second. Your true support fuels this journey.